Of course. Here's a compelling introduction for your YouTube story. I never thought I'd be in this kind of situation, caught between my loyalty to my husband and the heartbreaking discovery that threatened to tear our family apart. It all started when my stepson, Jake, came home on leave from the military. He had always been quiet, disciplined, and distant, but there was something different about him this time. He wasn't just reserved, he was watching, observing, almost like he knew something the rest of us didn't. At first, I chalked it up to the emotional weight of his service. Being deployed changes a person, makes them more guarded. But one evening, as we sat around the dinner table, his piercing gaze lingered on me for just a second too long. I felt a chill run down my spine. There was something in his eyes, anger, sadness, maybe even betrayal. My heart pounded as I tried to brush it off, but deep down, I knew. Jake wasn't just home to visit, he had come back with a purpose. A few days later, he pulled me aside, his voice low and serious. "Stepmom, I need to talk to you," he said. There was no warmth in his tone, no trace of the boy I had helped raise. My stomach twisted into knots as I followed him onto the porch, the summer air thick with tension. He hesitated for a moment before speaking, and when he finally did, his words sent my entire world crashing down. "I know what you've been doing," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know everything." My breath caught in my throat. I could feel the blood draining from my face. My mind raced through every possibility. What did he know? What had he seen? The weight of his words settled over me like a storm cloud, dark and unrelenting. I wanted to deny it, to tell him he was wrong, but the look in his eyes told me he had proof. And just like that, my carefully built life, my marriage, and the trust of the one person who had always looked up to me, all of it was hanging by a thread. What Jake revealed next would change everything, and there was no going back. I stood frozen, my pulse hammering in my ears. Jake's eyes never left mine, searching for a reaction, maybe even a confession. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. My mind was racing. How could he know? What exactly had he seen? And most importantly, how long had he known? "I don't understand," I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. It was a weak attempt, and I could tell Jake saw right through it. His jaw tightened, and he let out a slow breath, like he was holding something back. "I thought you were different," he said, shaking his head. I really did. Guilt and fear knotted in my stomach. I had known Jake since he was a teenager, watched him grow into the strong, disciplined man he had become. He had always been protective of his father, always the one to step up when things got tough. And now it was clear. He wasn't just guessing. He knew something. "You should just tell the truth," he added, his voice quieter now, almost tired. "Because if you don't, I will." I swallowed hard. There it was, the real threat. He wasn't just confronting me, he was giving me a choice. Either I came clean or he would do it for me. But what did he really know? And how much damage would it cause? A part of me wanted to beg him to stay quiet, to convince him he was mistaken. But deep down, I knew this moment had been coming for a long time. The choices I had made, the secrets I had kept, they were finally catching up to me. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I could stop what was coming next. Jake's words hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and unshakable. I wanted to defend myself, to demand proof, but the way he looked at me told me it wouldn't matter. He had already made up his mind. My hands trembled as I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly feeling exposed. "What do you think you know?" I asked carefully, keeping my voice steady. Jake let out a bitter laugh. "Does it matter?" he shot back. I saw enough. Saw. My heart nearly stopped. That meant he wasn't just suspicious, he had evidence. But what did he see? A conversation? A message? Or something worse? My mind raced through the possibilities, every mistake flashing before me like a slow, painful movie I couldn't stop watching. I came home thinking things would be different, Jake continued, his voice quieter now. I thought my dad finally had someone who cared about him the way he deserves. But I guess I was wrong. The guilt was suffocating, but fear overpowered it. Jake wasn't just angry, he was hurt. And if he told his father what he knew, everything I had built, every piece of this life, would come crashing down. The silence between us was unbearable. Jake's eyes burned with disappointment, and I could feel my chest tightening under the weight of his words. My mind screamed for a way out, a way to fix this before it was too late. But how? No excuse would be enough. No explanation could erase what he had seen,